This is Fife for Friday, and I'm outside soaking up the last bit of sunshine because this weekend, the summer and the flat season comes to an end at Ascot with Champions Day. That's right, 6 races crowning the finest and brightest names in the 6 most important divisions in racing. We've got the stayers, the sprinters, the fillies and mares, the milers, the middle distance colts and geldings, and of course, the mile handicappers? Sure, why not? I guess it makes sense. What I like about the flat season is the way it ebbs and flows and ties together at the end with a neat little bow. And if we start off with the Lincoln at Doncaster, why not end with the Balmoral at Ascot? It's like a giant Rube Goldberg machine. One piece of form cannons into another, and by the end, it all makes perfect sense. But the flat season doesn't just link together from spring through till autumn, it's also every other flat season, knitting together through form lines and bloodlines to create a rich, satisfying tapestry. So this week's Fife for Friday is a kind of 6 degrees of separation for Champions Day at Ascot, starting off with the Champion Stakes and, of course, Bay Bridge, who lines up against Bide, of course, to try and salvage a little bit of a disappointing season. He announced his arrival into the racing game with an impressive win in last year's London Gold Cup, which is usually a good springboard for future success. In fact, Sir Michael Stout's last winner of that race was Cannock Chase. Now, his half-sister was Starcatcher, a See the Stars filly trained by the Gosdens, ridden by Frankie Dettori, to win the fillies and mares at Champions Day back in 2019. That wasn't the first time they've won that race, however. That was back in 2016 with a horse called Journey, whose full sister lines up in this year's event in an attempt to win the race again. That full sister, Mimikyu, who won the Park Hill Stakes on her last start, coincidentally beating last year's fillies and mares winner Ashada. Now, she comes from a good family, as we've already discussed. The dam was Monterre. Her biggest success came in the Pre-Royal Oak at Longchamp, where she beat a horse called Bellamy K. Bellamy K is a half-brother to Cinnamon Bay, the dam of New Bay, the sire of Bay Bridge. But Bellamy K's previous biggest win had come when beating Monterre in a Group 2 at Longchamp, the Prix Maurice de Niel. Who won that race this year as an even money favourite and is lining up with the big chance in the Long Distance Cup this weekend? Quickthorn, who's improved with every run for Hughie Morrison this year, and he's a strong stayer but with a curious pedigree. He's closely related to a sprint handicapper called Belated Breath, who finished down the field in the 2019 Great St Wilfrid, 2 places behind a horse who lines up in this year's Champion Sprint with an outsider's chance. Now, that horse also has a curious pedigree, being related to an impressive stayer trained by Hughie Morrison called Sweet Selection, who won the Sagaro Stakes a few years ago, the race in which Quickthorn was runner-up this season. That horse's name? Gulliver, who won 4 races in 2016 and 17 under the stewardship of Hugo Palmer, rising to 107. Before being sold for 50 grand to join David O'Mara, and now runs in those famous dartboard silks of Withensea Thoroughbreds. Since then, he's won several sprint handicaps on the Naysmire at York, and he lines up this weekend with an outsider's chance. Now, can you name another horse who was previously trained by Hugo Palmer, who was sold for a 6-figure sum to David O'Mara and Withensea Thoroughbreds, and lines up this weekend at Champions Day at Ascot with an outsider's chance? Escobar, who lines up with the Balmoral handicap, trying to win it again like he did in 2019. He also likes a York handicap, to be fair, but his favourite track is Ascot, where he's raced 16 times, 5 times at Champions Day, all of them bar one in the Balmoral. The one defeat in another race was when he finished tailed off behind the Revenant, who returns this year to try and win the same race again. Now, he also started his career with Hugo Palmer before moving to France, and as you would expect, he's beautifully bred, being by Dubawi and of a mare called Hazel Lavery, who was a Group 2 winner and broke her maiden in 2011, beating a horse called Dank. Dank went on to win 2 Group 1s for Sir Michael Stout and James Wigan, who, of course, are the team behind Champion Stakes Hope Bay Bridge. Well, that's the end of the section. I'm not entirely sure what we've learned from all of this, apart from the fact that I've got way too much time on my hands. But I hope that it whets your appetite for a fantastic card at Ascot on Saturday. There's also, of course, Catterick. You will not believe some of the form like what... Hey, what are you doing? Do you want to hear about... Catterick?
Subscribe to Racing TV's YouTube channel now to watch more great races like this.